Welcome to Empowered by AI. I'm Michelle Nutsi Silva. This podcast is for women building what's next and using AI with intention. In Season 6, you'll hear from founders, educators, creatives, and builders who are actually using AI to think better, work smarter, and move with intention. We're learning from conversations about readiness, literacy, and taking action, because every episode gives you ideas you can use immediately. Let's get into it. I love this. All right, so Miss Danielle LaFleur.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
You, rock star, queen. I had the pleasure of hearing you speak at Create, and you are you're just the kind of person that people just want to get next to.
Oh,
I'm honest with you. I was like, oh my God, because I saw you in the Build Lab. And your energy in the Build Lab was one of the reasons why I entered it.
really? I did not know that.
Yes, because you were just so real. And I had a moment like that picture of you with what that
The evaluation section.
yes, yes. And I was like, oh, I can so fit into this space. If they allow that kind of honesty, I'm down.
Tyler's in a training yesterday where he's wearing a chicken suit or something like that.
Yes.
You guys.
That level of shenanigans, I'm totally down with. So yeah, I went in, but see, here's the thing. I had a moment of overwhelm when I was in Build Lab, but it wasn't necessarily the evaluations because I'm a teacher. So I just looked at it like grading papers.
Okay.
I'm just grading. Give me a glass of wine. I will grade the shit out of anything you throw my way. Right. And by the end of the glass, the grading gets a lot nicer. So whoever's at the bottom is loving life because
I seen the pretty B pluses everywhere. Like,
I understand your intent.
yeah, I get it now. I get it.
Yeah. Now, have you gone back to that and do you feel more comfortable with it now? Do you feel like it's still something? Because I saw a post where the other day you were like, oh, hell no. Still makes
Hell no. Yeah, hell no. I can do it now because we built out the automation and the voice activation for me, right? So it's easier for me to do. But because my brain is not detailed orientated, I'm the big picture motivator, speaker. I'm the person that like, let's get going, let's connect, let's move. I am not the person that is like, I can't wait to do math. Like I'm that person.
There are people that feel that way?
Yeah, they're on my team. That's what they do. They're like, I'm not saying that Jenny might have a problem with Excel documents, but like, come on. You said a glass of wine and great. That's her with Excel. Like, I have a glass of wine and my like all my numbers in a big long data pivot file. Like, I just know, like, I just can't. So that's not me. So it's a struggle because it's not how my brain works, right? It's a struggle for me to process the information in that way. I'll get to the end, but my end is like A to T to V to Y to K to something or other. Pretty soon I end up at Z at some point or other. I get Z, but I can't show my work. I have no ability to show my work at all. Like, I'll give you the right answer, but I can't show you my work in any way, shape, or form. So when I do have to do those logical things, AI has been so helpful for me because it works how I work. So I can still process and jump all over the place. The end result still shows up and it will walk me through like, here's the formula, here's all this. And I can say like, I don't understand what that squiggly line means. Like, tell me or something like that. So I think that's the beauty that I really love about AI is that I don't think you really understand it is that if it's not behaving the way you want it to behave, you have to train it to how you behave, how you think, because it's not just garbage in, garbage out, as you well know. It's literally you have to tell it how you work, how you think, how you process data, have conversations around it, ask it to ask you questions, like really manipulate that thing so it gets to know, like, and trust you in a way. So it really can speak to your language and then translate that into the commonality of what everybody else does, and AKA math. Or
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. The logic, the linear.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your whole business is called Easy as Pie.
I know.
So tell us about you. How do we dive into your areas of shine?
Okay. Well, so I cry and then I bang my head against the keyboard and then I work. So I'm pretty sure that's how the progression works. Like, it's easy as pie. If you cry, you can get emotional out before the logic hits. And any woman worth her salt will tell you the same thing, right? So what we do is we work on the operation side of businesses for the most part, because what we've discovered and what our passion is really doing like a freedom. Our passion is like on a higher level. How do we execute that is on the operational side. So we really want to give people, none of us and my team think that we should be working these 80-hour weeks. We are done with that. We're done with the hustle. We're done with all that. Every single one of us, we're not playing that game anymore. So we sat and we go, what is the best way to maximize the talent of the team and make sure that we can also help people not have to do what we have struggled with or what we've been trained to do over the last 10, 15, 20, 50, 100 years, right? And operations came out. I already have people that are very technical. So we brought in a couple more people that were really operational focused. And we look inside of companies and find out where there are gaps, operational debt happening in their businesses, remove that to free up resources and to be either and have their version of what that scale is, build out the ability for their team to do what they've been called to do. And I usually give this example when I'm talking like what you're called to do. I don't believe somebody who's answering the phone, customer service level 1, was called to answer the phone and be yelled at customer service level 1. They were not called to do that as part of a job, right? Nobody was called to
On a
be
soul fulfilling
abused.
purpose.
Nobody has been called to be abused to that level. The people who are talking to you don't want to talk to you because we're angry and we know we're venting on you. And you don't want to pick up the phone and be emotionally damaged and have to pay a bill. What is it? Better help for the rest of your life. So nobody's called to be that. But if you have those skill sets, what you are called to do probably is you have empathy. You probably have a higher sense of EQ. You probably have the ability to sense energy around you and emotions and stuff like that for various reasons. You probably love to give people space to feel safe and to feel comfortable. These are these skills that could be utilized way better in a company. Imagine those skills when it comes to dealing with clients or dealing with the emotions of interchanging, of being able to have communications. There are so many better ways to be able to create a better environment for the people working for you, for your clients, for the environment, whatever it is. Those are skills should be utilized way better. And that's the point. We're not trying to take away a job. We're trying to get you to your optimal. That's what you should be doing. And you'll get more out of that than being yelled at on the phone. Like that's bull crap. Am I going to swear on this? Am I?
Go for it, girl.
That's bullshit.
Sit in bracket.
Yeah.
Nobody was in.
It's complete bull. You were never called to be a punching bag for somebody who can't get through on AT&T phone line or find out what the hell's going on with their Verizon bill. That was not your calling. I don't think anybody was called to be able to do that. And I am okay with getting rid of those jobs. It forces you. And again, the companies we work with, we're like, you're not firing anybody. You are up leveling everybody in your team.
Yeah.
That's the point. I need you to uplevel them because you will not be able to survive the next level if you do not have really high EQ, high leadership developed people on your team. If you don't have a really good human-centered team, you will not survive the next stage of the economy, the next stage of life, the next stage of business. That is the differentiator between a company that will move forward and a company that won't. And we see this as the great opportunity to make sure that we're freeing up resources so people have the time to build those skills, find the clients, reduce their debt, get their income up and running and stuff like that to be able to take on the next stage of the economy.
Yeah. And there's two things there that you just touched on like it was just normal every day. And I want to dive deep. I want to dive deep because maybe it's your normal every day, but I think it's fascinating, right? So you talked about this idea when the last time I talked to you, where you talked about this post-labor economy.
Yeah.
So this idea of value not connected to headcount, it's not connected to those boomer metrics that we were raised with.
Yeah.
My mom was doing the best she could. She knew that independence was a steady career, a paycheck, right?
Yeah.
That was the most a woman could hope for. But I think there's a shift. You're not wrong, right? There is a huge shift. This is revolutionary. So what does that shift look like for us in action? Because God love us, we were raised by boomers.
Yeah. And God love us, everybody for 100 years has this is why we've worked. And we've worked before that. Think about like we have, there was always labor for survival. There's a fiefdom where you worked for, you were serf and you got your land and food. Does that make sense? You're always working for that kind of exchange and it's a monetary value in some way. And so when we think about this big change, this is a whole economical scale difference. Like it can be a worldwide thing that might end up happening. And there's different countries that have already been adopting this kind of thought process, like UBI, right? So if there's a UBI, a safety net, something like that happens, you're already secure in that. But when you're thinking about the idea where what you know no longer has monetary value, how do you survive? My expertise in leadership, network engineering, design, and like the things that I have educational information on, my degrees and, all that other kind of stuff, technology management, like if that's no longer what will cause somebody to hire me and pay me money, where's my value as far as income goes? Not my value as a person, but value as income goes. Imagine that, because we've all spent so much time getting our degrees, educating ourselves, and all this other kind of stuff. You remove that. If AI has all that information, I can go to ChatGPT and get all the information. What's the point of hiring somebody? And that is a really scary thought. That is a thing that we kind of don't really understand. That's not only the direction we are already in and moving fast towards, but once robots, because robots are scaling at an unprecedented amount. Like they're going, people always say like, I'm a plumber, it will never happen. Yeah, well, right? Like these things are becoming they can do some pretty cool stuff. So in 20 years, that might be a reality for you. 2025, that might be a reality for you, right? When I think about, and bear with me if I'm kind of going long-winded around here, but when I think about what can you offer to create value, what it really boils down to is that human connection. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to want to know who I'm working with and if their values are aligned with mine, and also if they're creating something that's unique that maybe is not creatable outside of the AI space, right? And just a quick example is like when I hired Yuri. So Yuri did our branding for Easy as Pie. And I checked out a lot of money from Yuri. And remember, I work in AI, so I understand Mid-Journey and I can probably figure out how to make a good logo. But I hired somebody who did not work in AI specifically because I knew him, one, and I knew his expertise, two, and three, creativity. His uniqueness and his creativity is different. Now, here's the caveat. He could use AI as a tool to create my logo. I didn't give a shit about that, right? He could have totally done that and that would have been fine. But I knew that him doing that, using AI to create a logo, would still be Yuri's work. It would still be his creativity, his humanity, everything that has to do with that, right? Because that's a non-tangible thing. Not everybody is creative like Yuri is. He didn't, by the way, use AI, for legal reasons, as we all know, like the ownership and copyright and all that other kind of stuff. But I think what it comes down to is you have a skill where you're no longer going to be able to market that skill. We have to start thinking outside the box of what makes you unique and what unique is the value of who you are as a person. And that is, I think, a really hard thing for us to understand because we define ourselves by our job so deeply, especially in this culture. And imagine taking that away and you are no longer identifiable by your job. That's a deconstruction of self right then and there. And so there is a lot of internal work that we have to do to separate ourselves out of that and understand that how money works does not have to be applied to a labor versus a knowledge versus exchange of funds. So if we think about ETFs, I don't like if I get a dividend payout from my stocks, I didn't do any money. I didn't do any work for that. It took no brains of me. I just had to go put money into the stock and I got a dividend payout, right? That's how money should work, right? So money should be working for you. And if you start thinking on that concept, your eyes open up to a whole bunch of different opportunities to be able to make money that is not reliant based on your knowledge, but based on your humanity.
And I'm going to geek out with you on that for just a second, because I think I'm wondering if that is generational, because I am looking at my history, right? So I'm transitioning from this role into another role, and I'm bringing all of that expertise with me. So that is part of the Yuri equation, right?
Yeah.
I'm building that. What I'm building now has my own lens because of
Yep.
my experience. So I'm bringing that. Anytime I interact with AI, it can't help but be influenced by whatever's going on in my brain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my son, who's going into a very creative field, is the exact opposite. He wants to build that knowledge first. AI is not on his radar right now, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
he wants to build up all of that humanity, if you will, because mine, it's calloused, it's
Yeah.
guarded, it's jaded, it's all of my
Yep.
experiences from my 55 almost years. It is what it is, right? He hasn't built that yet. So when
Mm-hmm.
I try to talk to him about AI, he's like, time out. I haven't even built up the knowledge yet. Just let me build the knowledge. I'll get to that later. You know what I mean? So it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting to me. I'm wondering how much of it is generational.
I think there's a lot of generational, and I think it's interesting that he's kind of bulking at that because I don't know a lot that are per se. And I don't know how old is your son? Are they Gen Alpha, Gen
He's
Z?
20. He's
20. Okay.
20, and
So
he
he's
wants
20.
to go into
So
film.
he wants to go into film. So my understanding of that, just from the brief that you sent me, is that that generation understands the disconnect that the Gen X and millennials and stuff like that had to the work versus about like time, right? They're just we worked ourselves to death, and they're like, we're not doing that. And that's why I think this generation will go into post-labor economy so well because they are working on themselves first.
Yeah.
They are like, they're very community minded. They're very community minded, like way more than I don't want people. I could care. I don't want to be around people. I want to be alone or whatever, like that kind of thing. I make jokes about it, but I'm like, I want my little cabin in Alaska. You can never find me ever again. Right. So but they're very community minded. They've seen what's happened to their parents and grandparents and stuff like that. And they're also dealing with the results of what have happened from the decisions that we made as well. And they don't want to live in that space. So developing what your son is doing as far as human connection and knowledge when it comes to I don't know what to say instead of soft skills. I need Vanessa here to tell me what to say again.
I know, right? Right. That
Right?
other layer of intelligence.
Yeah, the other
Exactly.
layers of intelligence, right? Those communication skills that have that around EQ, that's
Yeah.
such a more powerful thing. Think about the best leaders that you have. It's not that they're necessarily strategically smarter. They might be good strategics, but they have really good communication and EQ skills. That's the real break. That's the real thing. We develop that. We can go so much farther because that's the cornerstone that we should have built in the first place.
Amen.
What we should have done in the very first place. Yeah.
Exactly. We're the ones that got lost.
Yeah.
They're a little bit
Mhm.
more pure.
Yeah.
The second piece that you talked about was operational debt,
Mm.
right? I am probably carrying around about
All right.
2 tons of it. Probably. I mean, I would think almost inevitably as a solopreneur, I'm reacting to a shit ton,
All the
right?
things.
Yeah. So how can I start identifying and reducing that debt before it limits my growth, my scale?
Okay. So let's talk about a little bit, in case you haven't heard about what operational debt is, let's talk a little bit about what that kind of looks like. So I have a list in front of me that I can read. So I don't like, cause I'm not memorizing things. I don't have to do that anymore. I have AI. So it's usually confusion about ownership of different priorities. Who's supposed to be doing what? Inconsistent client experiences, manually filling in gaps that should be systemized. This is a really key one. Is a leader or an owner is always firefighting, everything's out, right? They're always putting out fires and stuff like that. Duplicate effort, reworking things over and over again, extra steps, stuff like that. Things feel chaotic and stuff like that. So when that's kind of like what operational debt is, almost like I say a feeling, but you can never put your fucking thing on it. You're never like, but I know something's wrong. And I think I said this when we were talking earlier, or when I was talking earlier, not today, but before, where I said, if anybody ever comes to you and says, like, hey, I have a quick question, where is the blah? You have an operations problem. Like, that's the clear ticker that you have an ops problem. If anybody comes to you on Slack in messages and says, like, hey, just a quick question, I can't seem to find the blah document. Do you know where it's at? That's an operation, especially if you're the boss and they're bothering you. Like that's clear. That's a pure ops. You have an ops problem. You immediately know that you have an ops problem. So when we look at operational debt, we look at 5 key pillars. And so we call them the 5 C's because I want lots of diamonds. Because the 5 C's. Okay. All right. See, did you get that? Did you get the
Love that.
right? Okay. Not that I spend a lot of time on this, but whatever. To make sure we had 5 C's. So clarity is the first one. And that's making sure that your teams know what things are being made and they're making decisions not on their gut, but on their data. And this is a hard one to kind of think because a lot of people say, like, I look at data, but is your data right? Are you manipulating the data to match your gut? The next one is capacity. So growth stalls because systems can't absorb the volume without burning people out. You ever been in that situation where I need more clients, but I'm also working 90 hours a week to try to keep everything running at the same time? That's capacity. You have a capacity issue right there. That's an ops problem. Consistency, making sure that everything is exactly the same time every single time, like a McDonald's hamburger. No matter where you go in the world, you're always going to get the same McDonald's hamburger kind of thing, right? And so every client gets the exact same experiences and it's very repeatable and it's nothing to do with luck or communication or anything like that. It's simply designed that way. So it's exactly the same every single time. Communication slows because of bottlenecks within communication and within silos, like me talking to the developer, but not explaining that over to the ops department or the ops not talking to the marketing department or something like that. When it's within yourself, like as a solopreneur, you are the communication. But if you are lost in where the hell and everything is and you're just clustered in here, view that as a communication problem, right? Where it's not organized for you, right? And then control. Nobody has ownership of the outcome. So so this comes in where leaders are micromanaging. This is a clear sign that there's an ops problem if you have micromanagers going out because micromanagers thrive where there's chaos and ops. And if you have a micromanager, that means your company has an ops problem immediately. That's where they thrive. They sprout out like little weeds everywhere, micromanagers, when there's ops problems, right? So if your company is like, they're all micromanagers, your whole company has ops problems, no matter what they say, right? Because they need to create that chaos to have ownership and control over crap they shouldn't have any ownership or control anyways, because it should be systemized. And nobody should have control of that data because everybody has access to the data. And so there's not visibility. There's visibility problem. People don't want to have who owns what project, who was supposed to do what. And the systems do not communicate in any way, shape, or form where they're not centralized in a way. So those are our 5 pillars. So consistency, capacity, communication, and control. All the carrots.
All of them. And you've written, anytime somebody's trying to bring in AI, that's just going to expose.
Yeah, that's the point. It exposes it. So yeah, we do. We have a quiz that you can go take, and it's a really quick 5-minute whatever quiz, and you just take it out. Every single one of those has like 5 questions per topic and says, "How about this? Rate yourself?" This isn't even us going in auditing or like it's you self-evaluating, and we say like, be honest. Don't beat yourself up and like when you know you're not. And some of this has to be introspective, like kind of like, am I good at communication? I would like to say I'm really good at communication, but I know I'm not a 5. Like, I know I'm not perfect at communication. I know there's opportunities for improvement in my own ops. Does that make sense? So being just understanding and being honest with that. And there's nobody is going to be 100% across the board. If they are, that just means they are psychotic or they are an AI because that is a moving target. You constantly have to refine. People change, new people come in, old people go, things kind of change and stuff like that. Just technology changes. This is a moving thing that you just massage and keep over. And that's why we need humans in the loop to massage this, to make sure that things are running smoothly, to kind of go with all the variables that happen within operations themselves. You get a new client, you get a new income and merchandising, whatever it is, right? Things change.
Yeah. And I took your quiz. I took it before.
Oh, did you?
Sessions. QR coded that biatch. I can tell you right now, the only reason I scored middle grounds with that is because it's me, myself, and I.
Because it's just you and you're forced to in that level, right? Because there's not somebody bothering you. It's you bothering you saying, crap, where did I put that?
Search conversation thread.
It is my favorite button of all time.
Swear to God, when that came out, I was like, yeah, you saw me.
Yeah. What happens when you have these things like not in moving forward? This is where burnout happens. Burnout happens here, right? you have more emergencies happening and they're disguised as priorities. So that's a big thing. So your delivery cycle starts to close down. You probably have a churn rate and you have declining margins of scale. So you tend to make less money even if you're getting more and higher bids.
You're watching it kind of suffer
Yeah.
from the holes that are being
There's
digged.
probably another thing that I would say women do a lot more than men is we have decision fatigue, even more so. Like you start getting decision fatigue happening. So I know we already have that just within our daily lives, but then it starts showing up in your work.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, anytime I start recognizing that my day was dominated by reaction instead of
Yes.
creation, then I
Mhm.
know I've screwed up something.
Yeah.
Big,
Yeah.
big time.
Yeah. Yeah. And all this goes back into internal. Like a lot of this stuff, it comes with like having your good boundaries. Like when you have really good boundaries, you can have good ops, right? It's a lot of this is internal and make decisions based on how we feel, supporting other people, all these other kinds of things. We do the best we can in that moment. But like, especially I think as a solopreneur, when you have somebody else come on board and somebody else come on board, you still view that company as a solopreneur. And then you get caught in this cluster, whatever it is, right? And
Yeah.
so when you're in the beginning stages, you get caught into ops problems very quickly.
Yeah, and you've talked about this idea that scaling isn't about getting bigger, it's getting
Yeah.
better,
Yeah.
right? And so that's where I wanna tease that out for the
Okay.
listeners, like getting better. What does that mean for an entrepreneur to keep that sustainability going?
Yeah. So I think when we think about scaling, I think you always have to think about scaling in a multiple different dimensions. And it doesn't necessarily mean get bigger as in, oh my God, we're gonna like IPO out or something like that. Getting scaling means scaling more time for you to rest. It means scaling, you scale and you make more money so you can give more bonuses to your team or pay people more money. It means scaling so you can give back to the community and do more volunteer work or give financial resources. You know, we have this thing going on with the economy right now with the snaps and all that other kind of stuff. Imagine having all the extra resources. It doesn't mean you get bigger and add more all this extra stuff. It means you don't charge your clients even more. You streamlined your ops. You got rid of all of that extra costs and stuff like that. Now you have more flush funds. Now you can support other people in need. Does that make so? You have all these opportunities for scale, but doesn't necessarily scale mean going bigger and more clients. It means scaling different parts of who you are, the business, the values, and all those other kinds of things. So that's really what I mean by scale. You can do amazing things with a very small team and scale large. So however that is for your company and for what you view, that's what scale should be focused on. Maybe it's scaling so everybody can go get their own private degree in basket weaving. I don't know. Like,
That's awesome, but I want a poster of that, right? Because
yeah,
that's such a difference from what scale means when you have a, say, transactional dominated
yes.
conversation,
Mhm.
right? Scale is hustle.
Yeah.
Scale is it's a dollar amount. And
Yeah.
I get that. Bring on the money. I'm
Yeah.
no ill will
Yeah.
to anybody that wants to increase their bottom line.
Yeah.
I'm all
We
about
said,
that. But I think that this extended definition, there are gonna be some people that are, like, feeling a little bit of permission given with that
yeah.
one.
I think it's really important because it kind of comes back to that thought. Have you ever heard like money is evil? The money is evil. Like, don't make too much money. We have these, like, a lot of people have these conscience, like, you can't make too much money because it's evil. Religious bringing stuff is you're a better person if you're poor, all those other kind of like things and stuff like that. Money is neutral. It gives the energy it energizes based on how you energize it, right? So if you can do good with money and you can do evil with money. Money is neutral. It's your decisions that you make with the money that does that. It's the same with scale. Scale is neutral. It's the decisions you make with the scale that causes the outcome. And we've been taught that scaling could be bad or it's going to be confusing or it's going to be too much or I'm not smart enough to scale. I'm not a big enough company to scale. It's just me. I don't have the right education. All of that baloney. Nothing to do with it. What if you can scale so you can give back to the community? Because you can help support local animal shelters or something like that. So you have more resources to do that. Think about that and how you can support other people in the scale. If we start getting good energy towards scale, good things will happen.
Yeah, and what if scale meant you got to be a little bit more of your whole self,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah. Hmm.
That's beautiful. And I love the honesty that you bring to pretty much any conversation you participate in. And you admitted, I can't remember what post it was. I was looking at your
Yeah.
LinkedIn. You were like, AI frustrates the shit out of me.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, leadership ain't about mastery.
Yeah.
That's just not the way we work here. And
Yeah.
so I think that embracing that, like I told you at the beginning of the
Yeah.
episode, that embracing that honesty, it makes more people feel welcome. That's
Mhm.
my takeaway from
Yeah.
the conversation. But I'm interested in your takeaway. How has that honesty changed the way you lead your company, your team?
It's been a breakthrough for me because it's a really hard thing for me to do because I grew up, and I think a lot of us grew up in the perfectionism. Like, you can't, like, don't be on camera unless you look perfect. Don't, like, lose weight for God's sakes. You can't do keynotes unless you lose weight. It doesn't mean like you can't be the, B plus student. You have to be the A plus student or whatever it is. There's this level of perfectionism, especially if you're going to be in a space where you consider people that you idolize them a little bit more. Where like, oh, well, they want to accept me, like that kind of thing. So, I'm not good enough to be able to get this client or that client, or maybe it's just like I'm not smart enough, or whatever those stories are that we're telling ourselves in our head. Those are not who you are. Those are dictated to you from outside that was imprinted on you for some reason, be it from family, from how you grew up, from something that happened in your childhood, from a generational thing, whatever that is not you. You are separate from that. Right. And to become radically honest and kindness, that radically honest doesn't mean be an asshat. It means being self aware enough to know when to speak, when not to speak, but also being centered with who you are and your values, regardless of what's happening on around you. And when you kind of take that centered eyed approach, it's easier to communicate honestly and say, like, I suck at workflows and you will never find me doing, I mean, like I can do it, but I'm not going to like jump at the bit for doing a workflow with AI. It's not happening. I understand. There's people like, oh, you just did. There's a lot of people that say, like, oh, well, you can learn it or you can do that. I'm like, yeah, but I shouldn't because that's not my zone of genius. That's not where I should be. I should be in these. And we see this in leadership, but we haven't taken this down to what I would say the masses as an everyday kind of thing. And when you start feeling in that space and saying, like, yeah, no, I don't want to do this. This is not where I should be thriving. I should be thriving here. Whether it's being a homemaker, a mom, a CEO, I don't give a flying fuck. But if there's something that you feel called to do, you should be doing that. And you should have the ability to be honest about doing that and say, I love doing this. I don't know everything, but this is what I know I've been called to do. And you'll be, I don't want to say rewarded because that seems like, oh, yeah, I may be rewarded. But internally, you'll go, oh, I feel better.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
feel
mean,
better. And since I started doing that, I got a lot of haters. Like, I got a lot of haters, but apparently I don't give a rat's ass about them anymore because I'm like, but then I get people like you and I don't care anymore. Does that make sense? So I'm,
oh, bro. Yeah, no, I absolutely love it. And that was, you touched on something right there that I think is so my world, in that there is a reinvention that's happening.
yeah.
That opportunity that we seek, because I brought this up earlier, right? Raised by a boomer. Women's independence was something that my mom experienced while she was raising me, right? So a woman couldn't even get a credit card in
Oh,
her
yeah.
name. When my
Yeah.
mom got married, her credit went into my dad's name the minute
Yeah.
she got married. You couldn't take out a small business loan until I graduated from high school, right?
Yeah.
Without testicles co-signing. And
Yep.
so it's like, okay, this is recent. So there is zero blame in anything coming
Yeah.
out of my mouth right now. But what we were raised to believe was that your independence was, and it was very patriarchy oriented, right? Because women able to wear pants, it's like our feminism was woman in male
Yep.
role, right?
Yep.
We did not get to own the creativity, own you should be doing what you love to do. It was,
Yep.
you should be making money so you are never dependent upon.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at this now going, I mean, I think that's why so many people, when they start talking about AI, they will literally start crying
Yeah.
because it's like, oh my God, I get to be what I wanted to be before.
Yeah.
Because now it's like there's no barriers. I don't
Yeah.
have to go back to school. I can create my own private tutor. I
Yep.
don't have to settle for not having practiced 30 years of the art that I wanted to practice. You know what I mean? It's like now I can reinvent myself. So with all of that, my therapist bill is gonna excel, right?
Yeah.
But for entrepreneurs that are on that same track, right? They're reinventing themselves right now. They're moving maybe from an employment into now I get to do what I want.
Mhm.
What skills or mindsets do you think are going to matter most for them to thrive? Because remember, we're talking about a post labor
Yeah.
era.
Yeah. I would say curiosity would be the number one. I think this the number one. Just I like if we were talking and you were just literally just asking me a question, my would come back to like, what was that like knowing that now we're in this other stage? Like we are, the same bracket. We had the same things. My mom couldn't do that. Blah blah. We have the same things. So she had to get married so she could survive. That kind of thing,
Yes.
right? And so, and then the feminism thing of like, well, I mean, like mine was like, you have to get the job and make sure that, da da da, be confident, but not, don't be too smarter than a man. Like still downplay yourself and still appear weak, drop the little hanky chip as they pass by. Like, don't be a bitch. Don't be too opinionated, right? And so I think the skill sets that we have are the skill sets that women already have naturally that we have been, I'm going to say, punished for having or manipulated or downplayed for happening are shown as weakness. Those skills that are, quote, weak are actually the skill sets that you need to move forward because those are the differentiating. The men that I love and adore have amazing EQ and absolutely adore their wives. Men, I can list off a whole bunch of men who I am just in awe of and I have such high respect for because not only are they not plagued by the quote patriarchy kind of thing, but they're so happy to be partnered with women that are also happy with who they are. Does
Yeah.
that make sense? They love that their women are completely who they are, however that version, if they're a powerhouse CEO or if they're a homemaker, they don't give it like it doesn't matter to each one of those guys. They just like her for her. And so now that's been so rare. Now we get to like ourselves for who we are. And those skills are curiosity. We're curious by nature, any way, shape, or form, right? We're
Yep.
always creating communication and like asking, like, hey, how do you feel about that? How was your day going? What happened today? We're curious. We're constantly curious and stuff like that. We also try to solve problems and we listen. We listen. We don't just solve, we listen and we listen to what's going on in between the lines to get the idea of what actually is happening, what the real emotional trigger is. And then we try to solve what that problem is, right? And so we're creative with our problem solving and we think deeply about it as well. So not being able to see that surface, but really understand that internal motivation, which making somebody do what they're going to do. Anything on the EQ scale is going to be highly prized.
Yeah. Now, let's fast forward a few years. And how do you hope like small business solopreneurs will have redefined their success now that we have this AI powered coastal?
Economy going on. I hope that we have more connection. I hope we get to touch grass more. I want more, not just community building online or offline or whatever that is. I don't want not just like the aloneness, like the loneliness epidemic, but there was a beauty in quote the hunter gatherer kind of society. There was a community that you relied on other people to survive, and vice versa. And I don't think we need to go back into like let's caveman style. Like I'm not saying that, but if you look at cultures that are very community driven, there is this flow I feel that happens. Is not perfect in any way, shape, or form. I'm not saying that as well, but we're so individualized. But like if I'm in Japan, it's not that individualized as it is here. If you ever go to Japan, people are really nice and they stand in line and they don't cut. It's
Yeah.
just like
The
that's a
greater
group
good.
the
Yeah.
greater good. It's the greater good kind of thing, right? You do what you need to do to make sure that your people that are surrounding you are taken care of. And that's why I say the very foundation is taking care of you first. You have to heal you first, then your family, then your neighborhood, then your community. It starts from you in the very beginning. So if you're a solopreneur, it's healing that first. Like your son is working on his shit first, right? He's building his knowledge base on his shit first. He's taking the right action, right? So by a solopreneur, by doing that, you can expand that way more than you can right now. You are stuck right now because you have to hit that energetic wall every single time. But if you no longer had an energetic wall to do that, there would be an exchange that happens back and forth on the energy level to be able to move, to give back and create that life that you want to live. And again, I'm coming from this from somebody who, again, wants to move to Alaska and can't reach me but by plane. Like, I want to be so remote. I don't how Amazon's going to deliver in 2 hours, but I am the person that likes to be alone, but it doesn't mean I don't like community. There's a difference. I like having conversations and deep conversations and thoughtful conversations. I like really a lot of introspective work and stuff like that. And somebody who is introvert will thrive in this. Somebody who's extrovert can create the communities that allow all of us to connect. And we saw that. What was her name at the Create? Like, she was like, let's go do knitting. Like, let's just get together and knit at a bookstore. Because why not? What? And I was like, those people will shine. Like, they will make sure our community is moving forward, right?
Yeah.
And that's her natural skill. That's who she is. She's a connector. That's
Yeah.
just simply who she is. And she just went with her natural ability.
And how much of us could be that if we weren't so clouded up with,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think we have our own lens perception of who we are. I really don't think a lot of us even know who we are at the end of the day. This is way more philosophical than I thought we would talk about. I thought we'd be talking about odds. This is not where I thought we would be going. I do not believe the mass majority of people know who they truly are if you took away all external things. Can you sit in silence and meditate and not think about your job? Can you think in silence and just think about the core of who you are and how you exist in this world and your soul? I like to say, like, you are not your job. You're not your house. You're not your family. You're not any of those things. You're not even your brain. You're not even that. You're your consciousness. You're your soul, your spirit. And that transcends all these other things. Now, they all have to work in alignment. We're in this physical plane. You have to use your brain. You have to be able to physical. You have these things. But that's not who you are. That's not the essence of who you are. The who you are, like, if we start really digging in that, and that takes a lot of work to kind of figure out what are those nuances. I used to think I was like, oh my God, you're super hyper and, all this extroverted things. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I know internally I am not an extrovert. I am like 5% extrovert, but I like this. I have energy and I enjoy doing this, but I know that's not who I am as far as like the core. Me core is being alone, right? But it doesn't mean I don't have this aspect of myself, but it's not the content of who I am.
yeah. And being able to free up the space to scale so that you can have this ownership of self.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right?
exactly. You need time to
Absolutely.
do that. That's why the hustle thing doesn't work. That's
Yeah.
why working 90 hours does not work. We were not meant to do that bullshit. 30 hours, that's all you get. Like if I could tell you, like, you only get 30 hours. That's it. That's your max. That's all you get is 30 hours to do your job, and you have to produce 10 times X. That's all you get. That is where you start thinking about, like, okay, what really matters and how do I maximize my ops and maximize all these systems and process and procedures? Because you are not meant to be stressed out 90-hour weeks.
Yeah.
And I don't want you there. And I'm doing that out of love and kindness and caringness because I don't want you working more than 30 hours. I want you to have time off with your family. I want you to be able to watch a movie. I want you to be able to, like, I don't know, skip through the lawn. Fucking, I don't know what you're doing. Like, play puzzles.
That choice to do that.
You do the thing. Learn how to knit, apparently. Like, grow a garden. I don't know. Swing your feet on a swing, learn a new trade. Go learn about plumbing. I fucking don't know. Like, do what it makes you happy.
Somebody listening just popped up with an idea. They did.
Yeah.
That's like,
So-
so it's the thing. That's what you grab onto.
That's what you grab on.
No.
Yeah.
Scale.
Yeah.
And now you can do that thing.
Then you can go do that thing. Go do that. I think when you get rid of all the excess and all the noise, you will discover what you're truly called to do, what you are. And I think at the end of the day, we're all truly called to heal ourselves. We're all called to be a better version of what we came in as, to do better to ourselves first and then to our surroundings.
So understanding this whole person now as we do, how are these people that have now just fallen in love with you going to connect with you?
Oh, I'm gonna say, okay, so apparently TikTok now. So right now, TikTok and LinkedIn are my two channels and stuff like that. I'll give you the link for the that I know you have the original link for the quiz, but we have a new one coming out, so I'll make sure that you grab that one too and stuff. That because the new one won't have all of our crap from our conference because they'll look at it. I'm like, what is this create live?
Should have been there.
Could have missed that. Could have. Should have. What's me like, right? So this is obviously evergreen. It will last for a while. So that's exciting. We'll have a link for you to do the quiz and stuff like that. You can get on a call with Izzy or me or whoever's answering the phone that day and talk about the results from the quiz. But LinkedIn is a great way and TikTok. Those are the two ways. And pretty soon YouTube. I mean, you can go follow on YouTube, but you can't really DM people on YouTube, right? So, but
No.
yeah.
No, I'm down with that. I'm down with that. All right. My God. Way to bring it all full circle.
I hope so. This went very esoteric. Like I wasn't expecting all of that.
That's the whole of everything. You gotta honor the whole self.
You really do. That's why we do our ops thing, because this is what we should be doing.
Exactly. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with everybody. So appreciate you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yay. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, Michelle.
You've been listening to Empowered by AI, and I'm your host, Michelle Muncy Silva. If something from this episode clicked, don't let it stop here. Take one idea and try it out this week. And if you want to go deeper, head over to the Empowered by AI, the Slay Effect YouTube channel, where you can watch demos and walkthroughs from our guests today and so many others. Like, subscribe, and join us there so you don't miss out on what's coming next. All the links and resources are in the show notes. I'll see you next time.